Most divorced dads don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're just winging it. You don't have a discipline problem. It's a structure problem. So think of it like this. January 1st, the ball drops in New York, right? You got motivation. By the 15th, consistency wobbles. February creates frustration, especially too when you think about Valentine's Day and what that's been like for you. End of the February. Here's the end of February. You're just basically quitting this cycle. I want to put this your way. Where are you winging it in your life right now? Where? In what areas, man, are you winging it? If you're honest with yourself, where are you winging it? I could tell you from my own experience that there were many times where, man, I'm a consistent dude. I it's a gift that I have. I can just keep doing things like probably for too long is my problem. For too long. But then there was other areas where because I would be so focused in on those areas, I would lose the energy to be able to do these other areas and I would just wing it. And scripture says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Another way to say it is that how you do anything is how you do everything. But there were areas in my life, and I've said this before about closing deals. And closing deals with yourself is making an agreement with yourself and then doing it. That's a simplicity, saying, hey, I'm going to do this, and then I do it. When you don't do that and you don't close the deal, you feel internally, you lose that confidence of closing the deal. And the more times you do that, the less confidence you have in closing those deals. And in other areas in your life, that becomes the norm. I was just on a call with a dad and we had talked together and he had told me all these things that he wanted to do. And he wanted to, work together and work with me. And he was pumped and he was excited. And I said, great, well, I'll just start putting some stuff your way. And, I want to get going. I want to get this on ASAP. Right? Everything, all yes, all yes, all yes. And then a couple days later, I come back and say, hey, what's going on, man? Oh, this is sort of coming up and this is sort of coming up and, this is going on. And I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything to him. But the reality is that I found out later that type of person and people pleasing to say yes, he was actually not closing those deals in himself. And it was affecting other areas. He wasn't closing deals with his kids. He would say one thing and do the other. He wasn't probably closing deals in his marriage with his own self. He was people pleasing, but it wasn't closing the deal. I want to give you some of the data of what this looks like and some of the goals and stuff so we can get through this today because I want you guys to close deals. I want a million dads to transform their life and legacy. I want you to rebuild your cash flow, your mindset, your focus, and your dad life. That's why you're here. You're a great dad, and you're going to step into some things. You're going to chisel some things away in your life. This is what it looks like. 92% of people abandon goals within 8 weeks. 9 out of 10. Willpower declines with decision fatigue. We know that. Habits stick when the environment supports them, which is why when you're trying to lose weight, it's not a good idea to have cookies and cakes around the house. It's more distractions that you don't need. When you're trying to get your mind right, it's not a great idea to just turn the TV on or get sucked into your phone. It's not a good idea then to go and jump into, another social media platform and check on your ex. Right? So those things will crush you. You've got to be aware of it. You know that. I know that. But why aren't you doing it? Structure reduces cognitive load by 40%. Your system will take you there when motivation ends. That's what that's saying. The brain, here's what your brain is doing. Your brain loves automation. It hates chaos. Your brain is so lazy. It just wants the easiest thing to think about and do. So if you don't build systems, you default to survival. And I'll be honest, most of you dads, for your own personal life, your mind, your emotions, you don't have that system. You have a great system at work. Maybe you're an Excel pro, Excel worksheet pro, or you understand how to time block your calendar for work. But when it comes to you, when it comes to your kids, Those things have never been built. Those systems have never been built. The systems, with your time management has never been built. So divorce destroys structure. And here's what happened with guys. They lose routine. They lose accountability. They lose this household rhythm. They lose this emotional support, right? And then what do? They revert to survival mode, reactive parenting, reactive work, emotional impulsivity. And so you're not failing because you lack discipline. You're failing because you don't have a framework. And I'll even go a step further. It's not that even you don't have a framework, you don't have somebody that you're accountable to the framework. You're writing checks without realizing what's in your bank account. And you're just bouncing checks because you're not accountable to the framework that you have for yourself. So divorce dads usually operate in mood-based action. When I feel it, I'll do it. When this feels right, when it's the right time, I'll get involved. I'll do more. I'm just so busy. And one of the things that really shook me up was when I read something about somebody analyzing Elon Musk and somebody analyzing Jeff Bezos and realizing that those guys and us have something in common. We all have the same amount of time. So how is it that they're running their lives in their way and many dads aren't? They're busy or this or this. Well, when was the last time you audited your time and decided where you wanted your time to go? If it's the most, if we all know this, it's the most valuable thing, precious asset that we have. However, we don't have anything scheduled. We give it away like Tic Tacs. And when you do that, then you wonder, well, why is this not happening? And you don't want to get challenged on it because you don't want somebody to come in there and be like, hey, dude, like you're pissing your life away, right? You don't want somebody to say that to you. However, from my experience and the dads that I'm looking at, the faster that you can get somebody in there analyzing your blind spots and getting accountable to it, the faster your growth, the better dad you'll be, the more focus you'll have, the more cash flow you'll be able to create. So here's what elite dads do. The dads that I'm working with that we built, put 200 million more on the board and even less. Like it doesn't matter if it's a couple 100 million or it's a couple 100,000. It doesn't matter. This is what they're doing. Calendar-based structure, number one. No, non-negotiable, man. Non-negotiable routines. What is your non-negotiable routine? I talk about it a lot. What is your measurable targets? What do you actually want, man? What are you going for that nothing can come in the way of that? What are you aligned to? A client of mine recently, we were talking about, he was doing some things with his kids and he had some things coming up at work. And I said, all right, dude, what are you going to do? He goes, well, I'm not sure and I said, look, what is the most important thing? What do you want? He goes, I want to have that time with my girls. I said, okay, then what do you need to do? I need to not do so many things and I need to make sure that I'm present and focused and nailing that. I said, great. He was accountable. He did it. He crushed it. He had an incredible core memory with his girls, sending me photos. This was the greatest day, that we've spent together. This was the greatest week we've had together. All of those things. Why? Measurable target. Why? Accountability system. Why? Non-negotiables. Because what will happen with dads is you will get on a streak, a good streak, and then you will start to collapse because, I'm doing great. Put your feet back, sit back. That's where the problem lies because you've done that before. And there's another level that you got to get to. And until you have those systems and those targets in place, you will go back and your brain is wired to remember the easiest thing that you've been doing. Motivation's for amateurs. Structure is for builders. So I'm going to give you this 4 pillars of post-divorce structure. Really simple. You can nail these every day. Number 1, you need a daily anchor and a focus. Non-negotiable 60 to 90 minutes every morning. No phone, no noise. A lot of guys will have scripture or journaling or movement, something in that to set the day, right? Corinthians says, let everything be done decently and in order. 1 Corinthians 14:40. Order is greater than emotion. Set the day. I've got a book next to me every day. The next day I have it written out. Where am I starting? Where am I going? What's happening? Why? Because that gives me maximum energy to make decisions for that day And I know that everything in that book is aligned already to where I want to go and what I need to do. Number 2, weekly scorecard. You got to track it. Happiness is progress. What you don't measure, you can't manage. So, what's your scorecard in your health? What's your scorecard in your work? What's your scorecard in fatherhood, in faith, in emotional regulation? If it's not measured, it's imagined, right? So, when you're looking at health, look at it on a scale of 1 to 10. What does that look like in health, work, fatherhood, faith, emotional? What does that look like? Be honest. And then what I do with clients is say, cool, how do we take that a step higher? What would it take to move this? What got in the way there? Where did this fall off track? Why isn't this happening? Number 3, trigger plan. What's your strategy? What do you do when you feel lonely? What's the strategy? I had a client, we were talking, and he's had some of his stuff that he works through is with women. He gets lonely and then he wants to go on a bunch of dates, and he knows that that's not what he wants to do. But it's so programmed in his psyche of that's what he's been doing that we get accountable to it. And I say, okay, what do you do when you feel lonely? What do you do when you want to send that text or you want to make that phone call? What do you do? And we have a pre-programmed plan in place that he's accountable to say, you know what? That's not the man I want to be. I want to be this man. This man does this when he's lonely. What do you do when your ex triggers you? Do you have a plan in place? What's your strategy? What do you do when your kids push you? What do you do when they're not obedient? What do they do when they talk back to you? What do you do? What is your system and strategy for that? And then what do you do when work isn't going your way? Business isn't going your way? What do you do when you come home and you feel like you're behind the curve? What is the strategy? Pre-planned, pre-decided. Because pre-decision eliminates emotional hijacking. Number 4 is your identity statement. This is transformation. What are you becoming? I'm the kind of man who does this. Identity drives habit. The brain aligns behavior with a declared identity. So many of you know that in our school group, I have affirmations and declarations, and I do that because your mouth is the architect of your future. What do you want to build? Every day, every word is a seed that is going to grow into something. Nothing is neutral. Everything is growing or dying. So every word you speak is important. Scripture says the power of life and death is in the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Well, do you want to have good fruit or do you want to be eating bad fruit? Your mouth determines that. So we're speaking our identity. I am a man who does what he says. I'm a man of wisdom. I'm a man of abundance and overflow. I'm a man who focuses, who's accountable, who's aware, who's strategically organized and aligned to where I am going and what I am doing and what I am building. I am the greatest dad of all time. That's who I am. That you build your identity. You speak your identity daily, and your life will shift into the man that you're becoming. You will get pulled into who you're becoming rather than always having to wait for motivation to take you there. No, you take yourself there every single day. Again, I've said this before, but you are a $70 million asset. That's what you are worth, your body physically. If we were to sell all your body parts, I went on a whole episode about this. And think about that. That 70 million is the same price as a Gulfstream 650 that Michael Jordan flies. Here's the question. Are you flying it or is it in the hangar because you're scared? Do you even have a destination for that Gulfstream 650? Do you even have the inputs of where you're going? Because without coordinates, it's just an expensive park jet. Your life without structure is just unused potential. And you know it, and I know it. So when you start to hear these things, I know it hits, and I know it hurts. And I know also you get motivated. But I am not here to self-serve you ice cream while you sit on the couch. I am here to say this is the path forward. You don't need to consume more. You need to do what you say you're going to do. So here's a micro challenge for the next 7 days. I hope you get this. Listen closely. This can change your life. And again, before I get into this micro challenge, if this podcast has helped you in any way, I'm going to ask you for 2 things. 1, subscribe. 30% of you are subscribed, and thank you. Thank you. Number 2 is leave a comment, leave a review. Why? Because that is going to push this podcast into 1 million or more dads that I believe that need help, and they need help urgently, not for their life, but also for their children. That's something small you can do today. Leave a sub, leave a review, change another man's course of their life. Here's the challenge. Wake up at the same time for the next 7 days. Write your 3 priorities for the day. Move your body, track it. No complexity, no new books, no new apps, just structure. I got a guy that he's a current client. He's really good with AI. And as soon as I tell him something, he'll send something back in AI. I'm like, great, man. That's awesome. But what are you going to do with that? Because if you're just spitting out new apps and new programs and you get a dopamine hit because you feel like you accomplished something, but you never actually did the work. I want this challenge to be get up when you say you get up. Write your priorities and handle them. Move your body, track it, do the hard thing that you're avoiding. All right. So you're not weak. You're just unstructured. That's the reality of it. You're unstructured and you're probably not accountable. Structure is learned. Accountability is something that you have to seek and search and find because everybody's busy. My work is simply the doorway. Accountability is the gateway drug to freedom. The dads who win, they're not more talented. They're more organized. They're humble. They're open. They're transparent. They want change and they want to have the rest of their life, the best of their life. And they want their kids to see what that looks like. You are the hero of your story. I love you. I'll see you in the next one. God bless you.